Daily morning prayer for an hour and a half is essential. This practice will enhance your well-being, improve your relationship with your husband, and normalize your work life. This is an example of an improper lifestyle. On a deeper level, the core of this issue is that a person does not truly value their own life. If life is truly important to someone, they will engage in asceticism practices to sustain it. When fate weighs down, one must resist it. Failing to resist and succumbing to depression stems from laziness and the lack of will to fight for one's life. Otherwise, one will perish, and in the next life they will face the same state because the soul is eternal. It's a never-ending cycle and not a solution. In whatever state a person passes away, in the same state they'll be born in the next life. If you pass away in depression, you will be born into depression. A person might spend their entire next life in this state as a form of punishment. Life is for development and self-improvement. God gives challenges to overcome, and it's not as difficult as it seems. Right now, my challenge is much greater than yours. I must travel and invest in others, not just focus on my own life. Although I feel great, it takes a lot of work to maintain health, to maintain everything. Self-esteem is part of the human psyche, and perhaps the most complex part to understand. Because self-esteem is indeed an indicator of one's fate. The way a person's self-esteem is set up, that's how a person's life will proceed. And it's crucial to understand this clearly. By understanding how their self-esteem is tuned, a person can understand how their fate is unfolding. For example, the girl I spoke to earlier, her self-esteem is damaged. She has succumbed to the pressures of fate and broken down as a person. This indicates both a difficult period and a lack of knowledge on how to respond to fate correctly. A person has three components of the psyche. There is a subtle energy body. In India, it's called mind or manas in Sanskrit. It is called the subtle energy body of a person or their psychic body. All this is the same thing. And the essence is that a person has an invisible body. It basically replicates the physical body. It looks roughly the same on the psychic invisible level. It consists of two types of subtle energy channels. Some channels line all our organs, cells, muscles, tissues. In other words, these energy channels sustain our body for life. They nourish our body with life energy. This is one large part of a person's psyche. It maintains health. The second part of a person's psyche supports mental functions or the very desire to live. Invisible threads connect all of us. You are linked to all your relatives. Some connections bring happiness, others bring suffering. These threads emanate from the heart, linking us to close people, to our boss, to the president of your country. We are connected to everyone who influences our fate. Correctly reacting to these connections can lead to a good fate. Reacting incorrectly can result in a bad one. This is how the subtle energy body works. Within the subtle energy body are thoughts, what we think, desires, what we want, emotions, how we react to events. All of these reside in the subtle energy body. At the center of the subtle energy body, there is an energetic invisible sphere. This sphere is composed of fine, dense psychic fibers, which are memories of all our past actions and desires. These fibers are divided into tiny bricks as if they were made up of atoms. Each atom is a karma vasana or knot of fate. Vasana means a knot or a grain. These grains of fate emerge under the influence of time. As time flows, these grains move from the sphere's shell to its interior. Inside, the energetic space, akin to water, has a fluid nature, and these grains change the mood of this space. At the center of this space is the soul, a tiny eternal spark. When we say I, we refer to this soul. The soul perceives the world through this space inside the sphere. If the space is gloomy, the world appears gloomy. If it's joyful, the world is joyful. The mood of the space is created by the grains that emerge from the sphere's shell. Whatever I did in the past, good or bad, a time comes when I must answer for it through my perception of the world. This space inside the sphere of fate connects us with the people around us. This sphere of fate influences everyone around us so profoundly that if I have a bad fate, it will also be difficult for someone close to me. This means that during this period, they also have a not very good fate. Everything is synchronized in this world. All this is called the subtle energy body, one of three components. The subtle energy body also contains the senses through which we perceive the world: hearing, sight, smell, and touch. All these senses have a subtle, invisible nature, and they are eternal. More precisely, they are not eternal, but they do not die with the death of the physical body. If a person loses an eye, the sense of sight remains. And if a person can shift from a physical body perception of the world to a subtle one, then they can start seeing the world without eyes. It's very difficult to do, but if a person trains and has a special gift, then they can see everything that happens around them without physical eyes. However, their vision will not be limited to seeing physical objects around them. They will also see the fates of people. It's a different kind of vision. It might even be that they don't see objects very well, but they see a person's fate and character clearly. This subtle sight and hearing surpass ordinary sensory perception. When a person dies, only the physical body is lost. The psyche, character, mood, and thoughts remain. These aspects endure, lacking only the physical means to act in the world, the same as before, only without the ability to act in this world. Because we act through the physical body, the person sees and understands everything, but they can't tell anyone anything, give a sign, or go anywhere. Yet they can move very quickly on a subtle energy level. So there is a subtle energy body. We're discussing the human psyche. We're not talking about the physical body right now. The second component of the subtle energy body is intelligence. Intelligence supplies energy to the mind, channeling the energy of happiness. The psyche needs this energy of happiness, known as prana in Sanskrit. Prana, or life energy, is essential for well-being. There are two types of this energy. One type sustains the body, providing life and health through nature's energy. Nature, water, forest, earth, air, provides energy that enters the subtle energy channels connected to the body. Thus, health comes not from pills, nor from having enough proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, but from nature. Therefore, if a person has little contact with nature, they won't be in a good mood. Mood is a sign of health. It's not a psychological condition. If there's no strength to live or do anything, just depression and weakness, then a person must receive nature's forces through movement. Because when they're just lazily staying in nature, nothing absorbs into them. You need to pump this energy into yourself. Therefore, people who move, walk, run, and exercise in nature are lively, cheerful, and healthy. If some energies accumulate in some area of the body, it is called a disease. Disease means something accumulated somewhere, and inflammation begins there. If the energy of fire accumulates, it provokes inflammation. If the energy of air accumulates, it means there will be tension and pain in that area. Medicines can redistribute energy, but if a person does not interact with nature, the medicines will not help. A person lacks the energy to defeat the disease. True healing comes from contact with nature, not from finding the right medicine. Even without medicine, if a person is rightly attuned, if they relate correctly to the world, these energies will distribute themselves properly as needed. As they say, heal thyself. But to heal oneself, one must have sufficient contact with nature. Otherwise, you won't have the strength to heal yourself. The second part of the psyche is intelligence. What is intelligence? It is a structure that supplies our entire subtle energy body with the energy of prana, the energy of happiness. And this supply happens through a person's tuning. What is faith? Faith means feeling the source of happiness. What does a person believe in? Suppose a woman believes in her husband, that she needs a family. She wants a family. She believes in it. Thus, she will draw happiness from her family. If a woman believes in her child, then she will get happiness from there. If a person believes they need an apartment, then they will derive happiness from the apartment. From whatever a person believes in, from there they will derive happiness. But there are two sources of happiness. Some sources of happiness are temporary, others are eternal. If a person believes in temporary sources of happiness, that belief always ends with the person falling into deep stress. This means they keep expecting happiness from it, but in reality there can be no happiness there. And a person cannot switch because their intelligence cannot change their belief or understanding of where happiness will come from that quickly. And so the person lives in stress until they change their belief for what they live for. When a person strives for something in life, it is called determination. What can a person strive for? Only towards what they believe in. If a person believes in something but has not achieved it, it is called a goal. A person sets a goal and tries to achieve it. And the ability to achieve goals is called goal orientation. All these are functions of intelligence. Resolve, goal orientation, faith, and patience are also functions of intelligence. If a person feels that they just need to wait to achieve something in life, it is called patience. Knowledge is a function of intelligence. There is knowledge in the mind when a person has read something but cannot follow it. But knowledge in intelligence inspires a person to follow it. Why? Because the person deeply understands that they need it. Suppose someone tells, you should meet this girl. She's like this and that. He says, okay, let's plan it. But he doesn't make much effort because somehow he doesn't understand why he should. This knowledge is in the mind. He knows she's a nice girl, pretty, and seems to like him too. But why should he meet her? He has no feelings towards her. But when he met her for the first time and fell in love with her, he would find time, no matter what, to meet her. Because now he has a strong desire. This is the difference between knowledge that is in the mind and knowledge that is in intelligence. Knowledge in intelligence drives a person to action, while knowledge in the mind does not spur anyone to action. Most people in the modern world just listen to everything, study, and change nothing in their lives. Why? Because their knowledge is in the mind. But for knowledge to move to intelligence, different relations are needed. For example, if one likes the lecturer, it will bring happiness. Then, through the happiness of relationships, they also start doing the same. It means knowledge passed to the level of intelligence. Thus, knowledge at the level of intelligence can only be developed through love, through relationships. But if someone just reads a newspaper, there's no love there, no relationships, hence nothing changes in life. So there is the mind or the psyche of a person, there is intelligence. And there is another component of the psyche, this sphere of fate, located in the heart area. It's of a small size, for instance. An elephant would have a bigger one. It's proportional to body size. In a small baby, it's smaller. Mine is of this size. The soul resides inside this sphere. It's me. And the energy of fate is in the sphere itself. It's changing now. I've had a good few years in life, but now a tougher period is coming. The soul feels tension, resisting what it doesn't want. Life ebbs and flows with its highs and lows. Everything is constantly changing. Surrounding the sphere of fate is an energy that can envelop it, position itself below, above, move forward, retreat, to the left or to the right. This energy is known as self-esteem. If self-esteem completely surrounds the sphere, it indicates that the person accepts their fate. When self-esteem surrounds the sphere, a person declares, I agree with everything in my life. I accept it all. This state is called luck. What does a person gain in this state? They gain beauty, wisdom, and the ability to overcome fate. For fate to be overcome, it must be surrounded by self-esteem. If self-esteem has gone away, then there's nothing you can do with fate. It becomes uncontrollable. It does whatever it wants with you. This means even the astrologer's prediction becomes true, saying you may prepare for the worst. An astrologer can be proven wrong if you accept your fate and right if you don't. If you accept your fate, you can overcome it. If not, the astrologer's predictions will always be true. Now consider if fate overwhelms self-esteem. Self-esteem sinks. This is known as humiliation. What is humiliation? When a person feels humiliated, they become unattractive, and interactions with them become unpleasant. When self-esteem is low, intelligence cannot channel its energy into fate, into that sphere. So, a person may have a goal in life. For instance, a person might enjoy working on a car in the garage, an activity that usually lifts their spirits. But if they enter the garage feeling humiliated, they toil without any joy. They are not in a state to derive happiness from their work. This is called humiliation. What should they do? They need to sit down and accept their fate, agreeing with what has happened. Then they can work in the garage in their element and find happiness. Happiness will flow into this sphere. In this sphere you feel it. It brings joy to my soul. Like the song goes, and it's not by chance that it's bright and cheerful in my soul. In my soul means right here in this sphere. Everyone knows that in the soul is not in the head, not in the legs, but right here, in the heart area. It's merry in the soul. Right now, the girl in yellow feels joy in her soul, and so she laughs. Dr. Torsunov started singing out of the blue, and it brought joy to the soul. In this sphere, there can be laughter, sadness, and all other emotions. Positive emotions within the sphere are only present for those whose self-esteem encompasses it. In other words, a person is completely at peace with life. However, if a person disagrees with something in life, their self-esteem might drift away. For example, life dictates its terms, and a person cannot accept life. They can't go to work because it's very hard there, can't be near their husband because it's very hard there too. In this case, self-esteem retreats. When self-esteem retreats, it means that the person does not want to live. This state is called depression. What is depression? A person does not accept life, and they don't know what to do about it, where the problem is. People don't know what to do. A person does not accept life. Life goes on, but the person doesn't accept it. They don't know what to do next. If you ask me what to do, you need to understand that acceptance comes from having strength and desire. Those two things. For instance, the strength to accept life might come from kind people, from God, from nature, because there are three energies of fate and three sources to counteract them. Suppose if fate impacts health and undermines it, then you need the energy of nature. Meaning you need to interact with nature, love it, run, jump there, make efforts. Thus, you'll gain the energy of nature and overcome illnesses. If you feel everything in your social life is collapsing, you can't get married, find a job, get along with your boss, you dislike the country, the city, and everything in life seems bad, or even just one thing is bad, it means that you lack the energy of kind people. In other words, you should do something good for people. So you'll find friends, close people who will nourish you with this energy. The energy of kind people makes a woman beautiful enough to get married, a man attractive enough to get a job, allows a person to be charming so that their boss won't scold them, and so on. This all comes from the energy of people, from those whom you show kindness to, and who in turn give this energy back to you. And there's a third energy. When you feel like you face insurmountable obstacles in life, such as lawsuits or problems paying off a mortgage, debts, it seems like it will never end. The third energy is called the energy of God. In other words, you are lacking the grace of God. You need to pray, go to church. And if you do this, you will gain back your strength and you'll feel that you can pay off your mortgage. For instance, a person has a certain amount of debt and there are two ways to perceive this debt. One person thinks, I will pay off the debt. Another thinks, I won't. The difference between these two positions is that one believes they will pay because they have the strength to do so, and the other believes they won't because they lack the strength. These strengths come from contact with God. If a person prays, they feel, I will pay off the debt and live on. If they don't pray, they feel they can't pay it off. Or a girl can't get married. She thinks, I won't get married. That means she lacks the energy of God. But if she prays, she will feel, I will get married. This means she has enough energy from God. Talking about depression, when a person is in depression, their self-esteem has receded. Look at what led you there. If your health has declined, consider venturing into nature, engage in physical activity outdoors. While doing so, learn to appreciate the beauty of nature. Some people remain oblivious to the joy that nature brings, dismissing its potential for happiness due to perceived ecological issues. Just the other day, I went for a run along the river bank in another city. Nobody else was running at that time except for me and my assistant. While many preferred staying indoors, we embraced the rejuvenating energy and happiness that the river offered. We started running. Initially, we jogged amidst heavy traffic and during exhaust fumes. There were lots of cars. We focused on the river, not the exhaust gases. And as a result, everything was fine. What a person focuses on, they receive. I had a relative who lived in the city with very polluted air. Back then, the air there was heavy with pollutants from industrial plants, rendering it hard to breathe. When I visited the city, there was nothing to breathe because of the chemical plants and the polluted air. You simply breathe in and can't feel the air, you feel the chemicals. And yet he so loved his work, his labor, that he lived a long life and did not fall ill, despite living in such a terrible place. What am I talking about now? That a human's body can be healthy if it is tuned correctly. Or, for instance, allergies. When a person overreacts to the smallest issues, when they dislike something, it can even lead to anaphylactic shock. It can choke a person to the point where one can't even breathe. The body is protesting against something wrong. There are people who are very negatively tuned. If something is a little off from what they want, they break down immediately. But if people rejoice in life, despite the exhaust fumes, and feel energized in doing so, it's because they're tuned in such a way and they feel accordingly. We ran along the river and felt the river, not the exhaust fumes. Therefore, everything was fine for us, we ran well, and we were in good health. It doesn't mean that you should always run amid exhaust fumes. Of course, it's better to run along the river where the air is clean. But I'm talking now about the state of the soul in relation to fate. If a person is not tuned to positivity, it means that they lack the strength for it. There's no energy. Why no strength? Why no energy? There's also no knowledge. A girl thinks, I can never get married. Why does she think so? Because she doesn't know where to get the energy to get married. And what is this energy? It is the energy of beauty, which fills the face, makes it beautiful. If there is no energy, no matter how much makeup you put on the face, it still won't be beautiful. If there is energy, then even minimal makeup makes her beautiful. Why? Because the energy of beauty emanates. And what is the energy of beauty in a woman? It's literally the energy of love for people. A woman is born to love people. Therefore, God gives her a child as a reward for this love. If a woman cares for everyone, loves everyone, she becomes beautiful. But if a woman is in a state of sorrow and melancholy, she will never get married because she is not beautiful. You might say, Dr. Torsunov, beautiful means having this kind of face, this kind of nose, these lips. That's what beauty is. That's a deep misconception, because the specifics of lips or a nose are always a matter of choice. Meaning, some people like certain lips, others prefer a certain nose. It's all a matter of taste. If a girl walked around unhappy with low self-esteem, nobody would give her a second look. A girl loves people and has a good sense of self-worth. She might seem unremarkable at first, yet the energy she radiates is so strong that she sweeps men off their feet. That's all there is to it. So, depression. Depression means that a person lacks energy, they don't receive the energy needed to overcome fate. And to let self-esteem encompass fate and keep it under control. They lack strength and knowledge, because if a person doesn't know what to do, where will they get the strength from? Consider a sick person. They don't know that they should be running to the river, to the forest, instead of a hospital. If they don't know where to run, they won't feel that everything around them is good. For instance, if their lower back is locked, the person immediately becomes sad. This means their self-esteem has gone down. People stop being kind and warm. Instead, they become slippery and unpleasant. When self-esteem drops, a person becomes demeaned, unattractive. Why has it dropped? Because fate has undercut them. The person is sick, they feel bad. But if they manage to drag themselves into nature, they will gradually regain strength in nature and feel better. You just need to know where to go. Suppose if the spine is strained, then you need the energy of water and the energy of the sun. And if the spine is very weak, in such a case, you need the energy of the air, the energy of the trees. Instinct will guide you, so to speak, if you are searching. For example, if a dog is looking for something to eat, it is driven by hunger. If it's not motivated, it will just lie down and die. If a dog feels it needs to eat, the dog will find food. It sniffed here and there and found what suits the best. There are dogs that just lie around and don't run anywhere. Or a bird that sits and doesn't fly away. That means it's ready to die. Not that it wants to, but it just doesn't know what to do anymore. It has no choice. And maybe you can help it, meaning knowledge helps. Suppose a bird is very cold. You can warm it up, and then it will live again. But it lacks knowledge. It doesn't know where to fly, everywhere is cold. So, knowledge plus actions aimed at acquiring energy lead self-esteem to the ability to overcome fate. The fate and time have pressed down on one's self-esteem, pushing it back into depression. If a person doesn't know what to do, how do they behave? They're just stuck in depression, viewing the world through a depressive lens. Do they see happiness in this world? No. Do they understand the meaning of this world? No. Do they enjoy living in this world? No. And there they stand by the window thinking, what's the point? Everyone else seems happy and I'm miserable. Because they simply don't know what to do. They lack knowledge. They need to understand the cause of their depression. If your depression stems from not being able to find a job, then go and do kind deeds for people. From human kindness, you'll be inspired and feel capable of working. You'll gain strength from people's kind words. Go help an elderly, for example, or help someone else. Do something nice for a friend. Distract from your problems. As long as a person can't distract from themselves, they remain in depression and will die in it. Raise your hand if you're feeling depressed right now. You lack people's energy. You lack nature's energy. You lack God's energy. You can't overcome an insurmountable barrier. You, the lady in white, asked me a question. You're lacking nature's energy. You're depressed. Sir, you lack the energy of people. You don't have enough contact, enough kind contact with people.
And what about me?
You don't have depression, my dear. You're just upset, that's all. Sir, you're lacking nature's energy, which is affecting your health. Yes, you're also depressed, lacking the energy of people and God too. You have an insurmountable obstacle plus isolation. So if there's depression, each person is lacking something. That means you just need to go for a run in the fresh air, do some good deeds, go to church. Try everything and see what makes you feel better, then keep moving in that direction. That means you need the knowledge of where to replenish your energy, and you need to stick to that direction in life. Because the very sense of self-worth, which is affected by depression, what does it tell the person? You don't need anything. Go to bed or stand by the window. That sense of self-worth deceives the person at that time. It doesn't tell the truth. It seems to the person that they don't need to do anything or get drunk. It tells a man to get drunk, a woman to stand by the window and do nothing. Depression is the same. Just some people are naturally proactive while others are not. Suppose a woman falls into depression. Why doesn't she go out drinking? Because she's passive, meaning she'll just sit and look out the window. Nobody loves me, nobody respects me. A proactive man decides, I'll go get drunk. And he goes and gets drunk, got drunk, and for a moment he is feeling happiness, numbness. Why happy? Because he just fooled himself. He drank a liquid that deceived his mind. The liquid shows that all is well, but in reality nothing is good. So a person must accept the situation. I'm in depression. Something needs to be done, not just standing by the window. What exactly? Filling up with God's energy. There are three sources of this energy. First, nature. Second, kind people, human kindness, friends, allies. And the third, the temple. They can all be mixed. Suppose you go on a pilgrimage. There's a holy place with a temple. You go with kind people. Meanwhile, you are out in nature, walking through beautiful places, and you receive all three sources of energy at once. Self-esteem can move forward. This is called fuss, meaning the person does not accept their fate, and they think that happiness will be in the future. For instance, a person took out a mortgage and thought, when I pay off the mortgage, I'll be happy. If you think this way, you might never actually find happiness. Or suppose, when we finish school, then we will be happy. But now we need to work hard and finish school. Fine, I worked hard, finished school. Now I'll go to college, then I'll be happy, but now I need to try hard to get into college. Well, I got into college. When I graduate from college, then I'll be happy, but now I need to work hard to graduate. All right, I graduated. Now I'll get a good job, then I'll be happy. Got a good job. Now I'll get a good position, earn enough, and I'll feel happy. We're considering the best case scenario. Got a good position. Now I'll take out a mortgage, then I'll be happy. No need to continue further, because the person won't be happy anytime soon. Because the mortgage will be paid off in 15 years, then the person will be happy. So what does a life in the future mean? It means that the person doesn't feel happy now. One believes that happiness will come when they get what they want. For example, a girl is not married and she thinks, I'll be happy when I get married. But who will marry you if you're unhappy? In other words, the person is living in the future, not accepting their fate. There's no present life for such a person. This is called a fussy person. What is fuss? It doesn't mean that a person walks fast or runs fast. They may walk and run slowly. When a person is fussy, they don't see any happiness in the present because they only believe in the future. We are not talking about whether you need to hurry or not. We are talking about successful and unsuccessful people. We are talking about soft and fluffy dogs and slippery, smelly ones. Suppose you go to a market and there is a pedigreed, fancy dog with all the awards. Pedigreed, but it looks sad. Would you buy it? No. Now here's an ordinary dog without any awards, but full of optimism. It sees you with such joy, wagging its tail enthusiastically. Would you consider adopting this dog even though it's not pedigreed? Absolutely, it doesn't matter. Success isn't about the number of diplomas you have. Instead, it comes down to your nature. Are you soft and fluffy or slippery and unpleasant? Success is tied to the state of your self-esteem. When your self-esteem is intact, you feel great, you handle everything well, and all is good. So what does this feel like for a person? It's about living in a way that ensures everything is fine, not succumbing to fate, but actively working on one's life, enduring, accepting, and overcoming challenges. This is a person everyone admires. Life is shaped by people, so being this kind of person brings luck. Things will go well at work, and a loved one will return because this person embraces everything in life. So what should a person primarily care about? A girl once asked me, which should come first, working hard at a job or taking care of one's health? Of course, taking care of health is the priority, because if your self-esteem isn't intact, even if you work hard, no one there will appreciate you. This is because you can't attract love and respect if you're not in a balanced state of mind. Your mental state isn't prepared for relationships if it's humiliated, oppressed, or caught up in fuss. What does fuss mean? Suppose I go to a tram station and try to make the tram come faster. Instead of impatiently wanting the tram to hurry, wish happiness to everyone at the stop. Enjoy the moment right where you are. Similarly, in the subway, people wait anxiously until they arrive. But you could choose to be joyful while you wait. When even one person in the subway is joyful, it often spreads. Others start to smile and accept their circumstances too. Meaning, everyone feels good because you've accepted fate. But someone has to be the first to say, I ended up in the subway by fate. And what? Should I just wait until I arrive? Maybe I'll never arrive. You should enjoy the subway. Well, I practically live on trains. Once I got on a plane, put on my slippers, and a woman asked, it's just an hour flight. Why change your shoes? I answered, do you change your shoes when you come home? She said, I do. I replied, well, I live here on this airplane. It's very important to understand all these things. So another scenario. Imagine a flowing fountain of joy in life. Your fate is very favorable. Suppose this joy lasts more than a year. It's in human nature to forget anything bad ever existed. When one becomes excessively content, it means their self-esteem has risen too high. The surprising twist is that it's precisely in this state that fate intervenes to bring the person down. He might not notice, for instance, that his wife has started to cheat, or that other negative things are happening right in front of him because he is blinded by overconfidence. Imagine a man fighting in a war. He has just defeated an enemy and yells, hooray, in euphoria, only to get shot at that moment. Why? Because he let his joy cloud his caution. Their self-esteem soared too high. They became blind to their surroundings, unable to comprehend anything. At that moment, fate catches up with them. Self-esteem can also swing to the right or the left. What does this mean? The left side is the feminine side, and the right is the masculine. The right side represents bravery, courage, toughness, decisiveness, fanaticism. The left side represents sadness, melancholy, tears, emotionality, sensitivity, helplessness. It is normal for a woman's self-esteem to lean to the left, and sometimes it's even necessary for her to shed a tear. Sometimes it's necessary, right? Well, sometimes it's even pleasant for a woman to shed a tear. Now imagine a man sitting down and crying. That would be a disaster. God forbid his wife sees him like that. She might remember it for life and think she ended up with a weak man. It's unfavorable for a man. For a woman, it's somewhat normal, but also not good if her self-esteem leans too far left. Living constantly in tears and emotions isn't beneficial. In that state, she's not the best option for anyone. No one would consider marrying such a woman. When a man's self-esteem swings too far to the right, he becomes wild, aggressive, and overconfident. This can happen and is somewhat normal for men. But if a woman acts tough, stands her ground, it's very strange. An unclear person. An abnormal situation for a woman. Not good. God forbid someone sees that behavior. No one would want to marry her. They'd think, why would anyone want to be with her? We'd be fighting all the time. You see, different states of self-esteem can be unfavorable, and one should always strive to bring themselves back to balance. If you find yourself too proud, become more humble. Feeling demeaned, accept your fate and uplift your spirits. If you're slipping into depression, gather your strength and bring yourself back. If you're caught up in the hustle, return to the present. Stop living for the future, thinking you'll be happy once you pay off your mortgage. After all, that's 15 years of life you'll never get back. You need to be happy now, even with the mortgage. If you can't be happy with a mortgage, maybe it's better not to take one at all and live as a completely free person in a small apartment. There are two options. Either you're free and live in a small apartment, or you live in a big apartment but aren't free. You can still be happy because you made that choice yourself. So you must be able to deal with what you've taken on. You can bite off more than you can chew. If you've taken on a whole mortgage, you need to handle it properly. But it's better not to take it on at all, as dealing with a mortgage could take 15 years. Every day, you should be happy to have the mortgage. Once someone gets an apartment, it becomes theirs, and they no longer rejoice over it as it starts feeling like a natural part of life. A mortgage, however, will never become something natural. You have to accept it every day. Wake up every morning and remind yourself, I have a mortgage, and find joy in that. Doing this every morning prevents you from becoming unhappy. Otherwise, everyone will turn away from you, your spouse might leave, you could lose your job, and your health may deteriorate. If you don't accept what you have, it means you won't live well. If you feel like you carry a weight that is not yours, that means you're a broken person. Your life is lost. Either you accept everything you have in life, or you will be ruined by fate. Some say, how can I accept this? I have so much debt. Pray to God. Fate always means there's work to do. You just need to understand how much work. For example, you might say, I have polyarthritis. How can I cure this? It's possible to cure. You lack nature's energy. Start running. Everything will gradually heal. Can't run? Walk. Can't walk? Crawl? How long to crawl? Long enough. There are people who, for instance, have multiple sclerosis. They can't walk. They take walking simulators in their hands and go. 2 hours of practice and everything starts to recover. This is the right approach to life, because movement in nature gives people the strength to heal from illness. It is the most correct way to live. If you don't know how to care for someone, go feed the birds. If you can't care for people, take care of birds. They always wait for you to care for them. Build a birdhouse, give them crumbs, they don't need much. Or simply smile at people when you meet them, or clean up your own yard. But do I have to? No one else cleans up. Do you want to be happy? Start cleaning up even if no one else does. Or forgive your spouse, but they don't forgive. No problem. Start forgiving. You want to be happy, so be it. If you want it, then do good deeds and people will always appreciate it. Therefore, a person should start changing their life themselves. Don't wait for special conditions. There's a force that's very rare. This kind of force is called inspiration. When you listen to a certain song, you feel a specific energy in that song. A person can't sing beautifully if they're not beautiful themselves. If a person transmits this energy and you receive it, then you also have the possibilities, the desire to help someone. Therefore, a person should always interact with people. Communication with kind people gives this fulfillment. A person may be filled through lectures or by doing something good for others. This can be either a regular activity or an unusual one. It all depends on the person. For instance, the Good People Club members are present here. They help organize these lectures, and they provide an opportunity for people to feel connected to others, to be replenished by nature and God. The Good People Club helps become more social. Many people live a repetitive work-home TV cycle. Can they get replenished this way? No. At work, a person loses energy. At home, the spouse and kids take away energy. Does the TV give energy? No, it just distracts you. Mostly people just get drained continuously and don't know why they suddenly broke up. Like in the song, what a spring we've had, what days have come, why are you upset, why did we break up? Because you didn't experience this spring, you weren't replenished by it. You only had work, TV. Kids don't give energy, they take energy. The wife doesn't give it, the husband doesn't give it, work doesn't give it, everything just takes it. Energy is given when you've invited friends over, your self-esteem gets better. Going out into nature, taking a walk, running or exercising gives energy. Visiting a temple gives energy. Doing something good for someone gives energy. Going to the Good People Club, doing good deeds, and talking with everyone gives energy. Work, home, TV does not give energy. Depletion leads a person to defeat in life. After 5, 6, 7 years, people just can't live with each other anymore. They start to wind themselves up. We're incompatible. It's impossible to live with this person. The love is gone, and so forth. They invent all sorts of things. But the main reason is depletion. You have the incorrect lifestyle. People go to psychologists, and these psychologists persuade. You need to change your approach, how to communicate with your wife. But how can you communicate with someone when you have no energy to communicate? Like in the song, you tumble around so much at work, you come home and there you sit. Look at the acrobats, and one replies, what acrobats? There's enough acrobatics at work. You tumble around so much at work, you come home and there you sit. People can't stand each other because they have no strength to endure. They are simply depleted. That's the main reason. That's all there is to psychology. You just need to change your lifestyle. You need to love work. How does a person love work? There's love for money. It depletes you. You work just waiting for your paycheck. You lose energy. But there's love for work. A person rejoices, wants to do something useful for others. This is the main motivation that charges a person at work. One likes to bring benefits to people, society, and the country. One works for this benefit, and then one feels that they are energized by work, not drained. Their job starts to heal them. Or maybe one just likes working with these people, smiles at them during work, wishes them happiness, and if someone is impossible to smile at, one doesn't look there. One looks where it's possible to smile. That's all. Even strength can be taken from a wife if you accept her. With all her flaws, accept her as she is, and everything immediately becomes great. Because non-acceptance, protest, leads to depletion. You need to accept your man. He's not a degenerate, but a decent guy. I just nagged him. You need to admit it to yourself. Accept your man, and it will feel easier. You'll be coming home not to quarrel, but to relax. You'll feel fine. You'll be able to live. But acceptance itself is a difficult process. You need to invest in it. You can't just accept any person easily because all people are the same. Everyone has flaws. But self-esteem means that you accept your fate. But accepting your fate doesn't mean you're always soft and gentle. Accepting your fate sometimes means victory. You have to overcome something. Because if you are being demeaned and you agree with it, then you become demeaned, you'll be pressed down. Your self-esteem is being suppressed and you say, yes, I accept. Dr. Torsunov said that we need to accept everything. Then you become demeaned and everyone will laugh at you. Knowledge shows that sometimes self-esteem means that a person should not accept. They must gather strength and keep themselves in check. Don't give a chance to be demeaned. Don't allow yourself to be broken. There are things that a person should not accept into their life, otherwise they will be broken. There is one little secret. Self-esteem should always accept in life only what God or conscience wants, and always reject what conscience rejects. In other words, we should accept our fate, but we should not accept what we need to resist in life. That also needs to be learned. Suppose your wife yells at you, that you need to accept. But if someone is dishonoring your wife, you need to fight that person. Even if it threatens your life or your freedom, you still need to defend whom you must protect. In other words, it's also very important to study these things. But there's another moment when a person will still face defeat, even if generally everything is more or less fine. If you look deeper at their sense of self-worth at that time, it's not in the middle, it's a bit higher. But there are situations where a person can't tune themselves to give back. For example, suppose you're walking and there's someone who really needs help, an old lady who isn't asking for anything, but she's hungry. If you can, go do something for her. At that time, you'll cleanse your existence, you'll adjust your self-esteem, and your pride will lower. Pride in your fullness, pride in your good life will pass, and you'll become a sober person. You'll realize that this could happen to you at any moment, meaning you'll develop a sensitivity to your own fate. Danger might already be near. Therefore, it's important to always try to help those who are suffering, unhappy people, if you have even the slightest opportunity. Because at that time, you can adjust your pride, removing the feeling that everything is great for you. In other words, self-esteem also has two colors, the color of selflessness and the color of selfishness. When a person is living a selfish life, their ability to accept their fate is tremendously limited. Suppose a person is always self-serving. Their ability to accept fate is tremendously limited because they create a negative atmosphere around themselves. Even in relationships with a spouse, for example, if you're self-serving, your partner won't like it. Your spouse will love you less. Although your spouse is close to you, they should ideally understand you. In other words, when you prefer yourself over others, it always destroys your luck. But why does a person do this? If you dig deep, it's because they want to live. For instance, if someone were to cut off my air supply, I'd forget about the lecture and try to breathe. It's natural. There are states in which a person forgets about everyone else because it threatens their life. It happens, for instance, if they're in great pain or if they've been fired or their husband or wife left. The person naturally enters a state of self-preservation. And it makes no sense to judge such a person. They simply need help and care. But a person must always know that in such states there's no luck. These states are dangerous, they destroy a person. Any forced state where you're focused on yourself is harmful. Of course, these states arise because your life has been trampled. But if this has been going on for a long time, and you can't forget that you were abandoned, at some point you need to snap out of it and understand that the reason for such a state is the wrong direction in life. Whenever a person suffers defeat in a relationship with another person, it's related to this. If you believe in a person instead of God, they won't feel happy because you're draining them with your belief in them. You should believe in God, not in people. This is called faith and love. If you love someone so much that you tie your entire life to them, they won't be able to handle it and will leave you. Raise your hand if you've been loved so intensely that it became unbearable and you had to escape from that relationship. Are there such people? And sometimes, conversely, a person falls in love deeply and gets rejected. Raise your hand if it has happened to anyone. That happens too. It's all predictable. Therefore, you shouldn't depend on someone else. Your self-esteem should be directed selflessly. Selflessly means self-sufficiently. In other words, if you want to overcome fate, then watch your dependencies. Don't be dependent on anything except God and nature. If you feel a lack of nature, be dependent on nature. Always escape to nature, because God will always give you what's yours. Kind people are also from God. Say, if you have a friend, that's a gift from God. Through them, kindness always flows to you. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Why does he behave this way with you? Because God gave you this person so that you could be filled with human kindness through them. Therefore, you should seek true friends while serving people. There are such things as weekend friendships. People went out together, had fun. That's not friendship, that's just joint entertainment. There's no friendship in that. And when someone's abandoned, people call, but we hang out together, we travel together, we are relatives, help me. Why should I? Friendship means that you give something. How does friendship form? Say people fought together at war, someone saved someone's life. That's friendship. Or for example, they went to the mountains together. There they also saved each other. That's friendship too. Or they work on themselves together, grow as individuals, support each other, cheer each other up. That's friendship. Just having fun together is not friendship. In other words, if there's friendship in life, then you always have someone who will give you the strength to revive your spirit, to stand back on your life path. But if you don't have such a friend, life becomes much harder. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much and see you soon.